First Contact with Joshua Pert.
Hello, Earthlings. How you doing? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Glad you could be here today. It is the second day of the month of November on the Gregorian calendar, year 2017, fast approaching 2018. On the Jewish calendar, today is the 12th day of, or excuse me, the 13th day of Cheshvan. 13th day of Cheshvan. This would be the 8th month when you're looking at the calendar system. However, the 7th month begins the new year, so this is fresh into the new year. So 13 Cheshvan on the astrology. For today, our sun sign has progressed as we knew it would, 1 degree from 9 to 10. So we have 20 more degrees to go, and you could see how it's going to make this progression. Each one of these lines is 1 degree in here. So the moon is in, our sun's in Scorpio. Our moon is where it was yesterday in Aries. Okay, and some of these other planets are in the same locations where they have been because they are moving slower. So Scorpio, Aries, conscious mind, unconscious mind. So the unconscious mind, underneath the surface, we want to put things together. We want to organize things. That's what we're trying to do. Figure out with all of these events going on, how do we put things in order? Where the conscious mind, there's lots of information going on that is going to change us because it's affecting our emotional reality. And as it changes us, we grow, okay? We die to something emotionally to become something else emotionally. We go through a transformation process. It's just what we all do. There's nothing magical about it that one person experiences that another doesn't. We all go through the same process of transformation. Okay, so let's take a look at what's been going on news-wise this last 24 hours. We all know that we do have the incident that occurred in New York, the terrorist attack, the Islamic terrorist attack by the jihadi who decided he was going to run some people over in a truck that he had rented. Apparently, once he was in the hospital, he was very proud of what he had done. He even wanted an ISIS flag hanging in his room. I'm pretty certain that request was denied. How does a guy like this get going in our society? How does he make his way and sneak through the cracks? The other day, I showed you all of the different Muslim Brotherhood ideologies that they had about getting into this country. I showed you that they have a 30-year plan to take over America, how they're embedded within our system, maybe many sleeper cells. Well, here's an article that talks about what was going on with the previous administration. Obama DHS interviewed the Manhattan terrorist about suspected terrorist ties, and then they let him walk free. Let him walk free. So this man, they had him, and then they let him go. Agents let Saipov go because they did not find enough evidence to open a case on him. His name and address were listed as a point of contact for 2 different men whose names are entered into the counterterrorism and criminal exploitation units list after they came to the United States from threat countries, one federal official told ABC News. One of the 2 men had vanished and is being actively sought by federal agents as a suspected terrorist. Authorities say Saipov claimed in a handwritten note that found near his truck that he carried out the Tuesday attack on behalf of ISIS. Following the Manhattan terror attack, there was an Islamic jihadist killed 8 and injured several people. President Trump ordered the Department of Homeland Security to strengthen its extreme vetting programs. Here's the tweet. I've just ordered Homeland Security to step up our already extreme vetting program. Being politically correct is fine, but not for this. Okay, so why would Obama's Department of Homeland Security let this guy go? Because as I told you the other day, Obama was helping. Obama is a Muslim himself. He's talked about it throughout the whole time of his administration. All you have to do is pay attention. So this Muslim, who I believe is playing the role of the Antichrist, is allowing and made way for many members of the Antichrist religion to come into America. Why do I call it the Antichrist religion? Because they do not believe in the Christ. They specifically and outwardly have a battle against the Christ for anyone who claims that, according to them, they are blasphemy. Okay, so they are an anti-Christ religion, and Obama was the anti-Christ president who allowed them to have major access into our country after they had already started to put themselves in our country, after the Muslim Brotherhood made many, many attempts. Now, Obama wasn't the only one in the White House that was involved with this. Huma Abedin definitely connected to the Muslim Brotherhood as well. We will find out more about how her role was affecting what was going on, and hopefully in the near future we may even see Huma be arrested. That would be awesome. Clinton's link to Putin is the unreported dossier bombshell. The news that the Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee paid for research used in the discredited Trump-Russia dossier is a bombshell. But even more shocking and overlooked is the revelation that the firm the Clinton campaign hired to compile the dossier, Fusion GPS, is the same firm that's been accused in recent congressional testimony of launching a smear campaign in Washington against Sergei Magnitsky, the Russian lawyer who was tortured and killed in a Russian prison in 2009 after uncovering a $230 million tax theft by 23 Kremlin-linked companies and individuals close to Vladimir Putin, which raises the question no one seems to be asking. Why was Hillary Clinton using an opposition research company with Putin-linked clients to dig up dirt on President Trump? The claimed link was identified in congressional testimony, has its roots in the Putin regime's lobbying for repeal of the 2012 Sergei Magnitsky Rule of Law Accountability Act, which froze assets and banned visas for Russians involved in or benefiting from Magnitsky's murder, as well as for others involved in torture, extrajudicial killings, or abuses against those seeking to promote human rights. So far, some 35 Putin cronies have been sanctioned under the act, infuriating the Russian president. After the act passed, prominent Magnitsky supporters in Russia began to mysteriously be poisoned, thrown off buildings, or shot on buildings in front of the Kremlin. At the same time, according to testimony by Magnitsky's boss, Hermitage Capital Management Chief Executive William Broder, recently made to the Senate Judiciary Committee. Fusion GPS launched a lobbying campaign in Washington to repeal the Magnitsky Act by charging that Magnitsky was not murdered and that he and Brown were in fact the ones responsible for the tax fraud. Of course, Magnitsky was blameless, and Broder's only crime was that he virtually single-handedly led the charge for passage of the Magnitsky Act, originally opposed by the Obama administration, including Clinton's State Department. One of the faces of the campaign to repeal the Magnitsky Act was the Russian lawyer Natalia Venelinskaya, the same lawyer who famously met with Don Jr. in 2016. She visited the United States in 2016 to lobby on abortion issues. Putin had barred Americans from adopting Russian children in response to the passage of the Magnitsky Act, but her real purpose was to push the repeal of the act and prevent the passage of global law bearing Magnitsky's name. Okay, so very curious. It's a longer article, as you could see. Very curious, but not surprising that Hillary Clinton is involved with these type of people. We dodged a bullet there with Hillary Clinton, and I'm looking forward to the day when more evidence is uncovered about the Seth Rich murder that leads back to Hillary and the DNC as well. Sean Hannity has done a great job of exposing that. However, once he got threatened, that's when he stopped talking about it. And hopefully we will see justice brought to that situation. All right, here's an important article. It appears that the rats are jumping the ship, turning on each other as would be expected from the liberal side of things, the Democratic side of things, because that's just the way they operate. Inside Hillary Clinton's secret takeover of DNC. Says, before I called Bernie Sanders, and this is from the book here, by Donna Brazil's book. right here. It says, when I was asked to run the Democratic Party after the Russians hacked our emails, I stumbled onto a shocking truth about the Hillary Clinton campaign by Donna Brazil. Before I called Bernie Sanders, a little candle in my living room, put on some gospel music. I wanted to center myself where I knew what would be an emotional phone call. I had promised Bernie when I took the helm of the DNC after the convention that I would get to the bottom of whether Hillary Clinton's team had rigged the nomination process, as a cache of stolen emails by Russian hackers and posted online had suggested. I had my suspicions from the moment I walked in the door of the DNC a month or so earlier based on the leaked emails, but who knew if some of them might have been forged? I needed to have solid proof, and so did Bernie. So I followed the money. My predecessor, Florida Rep. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, had not been the most active chair in fundraising at a time when President Barack Obama's neglect had left the party in significant debt. As Hillary's campaign gained momentum, she resolved the party's debt and put it on a starvation diet. It became dependent on her campaign for survival, for which she expected to wield control of its operations. Debbie was not a good manager. She hadn't been very interested in controlling the party. She let Clinton headquarters in Brooklyn do it as it desired, so she didn't have to inform the party officers how bad the situation was. How much control Brooklyn had and for how long was still something I've been trying to uncover for the last few weeks. By September 7th, the day I called Bernie, I had found my proof and it broke my heart. The convention in July 1st called Gary Geisler the chief financial officer of Hillary's campaign. He wasted no words. He told me the Democratic Party was broke and $2 million in debt. What? I screamed. I'm an officer of the party and they've been telling us everything is fine, that they were raising money with no problems. That wasn't true, he said. Officials from Hillary's campaign had taken a look at the DNC's books. Obama left the party 24 million in debt, 15 million in bank debt, and more than 8 million owed to the vendors after the 2012 campaign and had been paying it off very slowly. Obama's campaign was not scheduled to pay it off until 2016. Hillary for America, the campaign, and the Hillary Victory Fund, its joint fundraising vehicle with the DNC, had taken care of 80% of the remaining debt in 2016, about 10 million, and had placed the party on an allowance. If I didn't know about this, I assumed that none of the other officers knew about it either. That was just Debbie's way. In my experience, she didn't come to the officers of the DNC for advice and counsel. She seemed to make decisions on her own and let us know at the last minute what she had decided, as she had done when she had told us about the hacking only minutes before the Washington Post broke the news. Okay, there's more to this, but it's, as you could see, the shock that she's receiving that Hillary Clinton was really cheating and involved with this activity. Oh no, oh no, are you shocked? I'm completely shocked. Completely shocked by this whole thing. I'm not. Okay, so one of the connections we've been looking to find is with Hillary and Papadopoulos, because I showed you yesterday the connection with Papadopoulos to the lawyer that he was his friend that is connected and sits on the board with George Soros. So we have the Soros connection. We also have the connection with Papadopoulos to Fusion GPS. So now we're looking for another connection, and this is with Hillary. And here we found one. Isn't this interesting? It turns out George Papadopoulos, who may have worn a wire from Mueller, was handpicked by Hillary Clinton in the State Department to represent the country at the 2011 UNESCO Emergency Leaders Forum in Paris. I'm sure that's yet another pure coincidence, right? And if you go down here, got the information where it talks about how he was hired, State Department, so on. So we've got now our connections. We have Papadopoulos is connected to Hillary. He's connected to Fusion GPS, and he's connected through another person to George Soros. Pretty interesting connections. George Papadopoulos was sent in as a plant. He was sent in as a plant to try to get dirt on Donald Trump, as they all have. They've been trying, but they're not finding dirt on Donald Trump because he doesn't have the dirt that they are looking for. Okay? They are thinking that he is like them, and that is not the case. So over this weekend, we are going to have a lot of activity. One of the things that is taking place, we've discussed, has been the November 4th Antifa protest that will be going on. You can go online, just look up Antifa November 4th. You can find plenty of sources about this. And what they want to do is they want to stop the Trump-Pence regime. And they are acting as if they are the moral authority when in fact the Antifa members are the actual Nazis in brown shirts that they claim to hate. So they're planning these rallies. Now when they do these rallies, one of the things that's going on is Antifa is getting money someplace within it from people like George Soros. Soros dumped $18 billion into the events that are going on here in America. We don't know how they're going to play out, but he's dumped a lot of money into there. So what we need to do is we need to kind of investigate a little bit further to see who the players might be. So here we have one of these players. Why was this crowd hire company paying or recruiting $25 an hour for political activists in Charlotte last week? This was going back to August. This is Adam Stewart, founder, CEO of Crowds on Demand. They're based out of Los Angeles. And you can contact them, and what they do, as they say, is they simply provide crowds for events. Okay, so crowds for events that they can go, and it even says at their website, I've shown you the links at the website, we've been there before, it even tells you that these events can be political in nature, that they're going to go out as activists and be part of this whole process, but they will be provided the materials they need. We know that buses arrive. We have video of people getting off the bus being handed promotional materials, protest materials. We've seen scenes of people being set up by cameramen for particular shots. So while there are these real activities taking place, there are also staged parts of them as well. And that's the confusing part. It's like in Las Vegas. Las Vegas had many different facets to it. One of the facets that we've learned is that there was a drill going on that day. So there were a lot of people there that were part of a drill. During the course of the event, it would appear that this drill went live. And the people that were involved with the drill probably were very confused because they didn't expect that was going to happen. There was certainly something much more that went on, and that's how these events occur, and that's how they take place, with the confusion that they bring. It's like the 7/77 bombings. They were practicing a drill in the tunnels in London on what would happen if a bomb went off in the tunnel. How would they respond to it? And while they were practicing this drill, a bomb actually did go off in the tunnel, and it caught them off guard. And you can listen to the interviews of the officers and first responders who tell you how confusing it was because they didn't know what was real and what wasn't. The entire thing was supposed to be a drill. Now, drills in and of themselves are not bad because these first responders want to stay in shape. They want to practice to make sure they're going to be able to do what they need to do in an emergency situation. So drills are necessary. But what goes on is you've got somebody planning a drill, and those people who have nefarious purposes find out about these different dates, and they coordinate their event to take place coinciding with that other one. That way, it sort of provides cover for what they're trying to do. It's happened over and over and over again. You've got this Crowds on Demand group that comes in there. They provide crowds who are going to act a certain way because they think they're like an extra in a movie, that they're getting paid, a big chunk of money to be part of some movie type situation. And that's how people are pulled into this. Okay, so we just need to be aware of the tricks that go on. And as we get close into this weekend, we need to just pay attention. Here's a full page New York Times ad that came out. Ad demands Antifa revolution to overthrow Trump. The ad, which appears near the front of the newspaper's national edition, demands nationwide protests that won't stop until President Trump's administration is driven from power. Join with thousands of others who will gather in cities across the country. Reads the ad, a movement of protests that continue every day and night, growing until we become millions. Determined now to stop until the regime is driven from power. So I'm guessing that this was where the ad was, but it's not popping up. Probably because, let me go here and put in the full address rather than the archived address here. Probably will make all, there it is right there. Okay. This is the ad. This nightmare must end. The Trump-Pence regime must go. November 4th, it begins. Be there. Join with thousands who will gather in cities and towns across the country. A movement of protest that will continue every day and night, growing until we become millions. Determined not to stop until this regime is driven from power. Okay, so the regime. They're trying to call Donald Trump's administration the regime because these confused individuals think that Donald Trump is like Hitler. Donald Trump is nothing like Hitler. These people from Antifa are nothing more but confused individuals. They're nothing more than a bunch of babies running around out there causing problems. And I hope they get spanked really hard this weekend by the authorities, because there's many members of that Antifa group that just seem to be out to do nothing but to create violence. Now, one of the concerns might be the fact that you've got Antifa is connecting with and being infiltrated by groups like MS-13, guys who are willing to go out there and cause violence. So that is very problematic because for the most part, I'd say that the people in Antifa, they're pretty much cowards. And they're probably not going to go out and do the things that they claim they want to do. Maybe some might push it. Maybe some might step over the line. But it's a lot more talk than it is actual bite. But if you bring people into your group that are beyond that idea, that are willing to create violence, it could really be problematic. And what may turn out to happen is that members of this Antifa group may find that they mixed with the wrong groups of people, that they let the wrong individuals in, and some of these Antifa members may find themselves sitting in jail cells for quite some time, wondering how they got there. And wouldn't it be much better if they were sitting at home in their mama's basement eating their chicken tendies, thinking that it would be a much smoother way to go? So we'll see what happens. I'm just hoping to see a good smackdown by the police this weekend onto these Antifa members, stop them once and for all for their hatred of what's going on. Lock them up. Here we have a poll. 71% of Americans say political correctness has silenced discussions that society needs to have. 58% have political views they're afraid to share. This is very significant because if we don't talk about a problem, it becomes bigger. The Cato 217 Free Speech and Tolerance Survey, a new national poll of 2,300 U.S. adults, finds that 71% of Americans believe that political correctness has silenced important discussions our society needs to have. The consequences are personal. 58% of Americans believe the political climate prevents them from sharing their own political beliefs. Democrats are unique, however, in that a slim majority, 53%, do not feel the need to self-censor. Conversely, strong majorities of Republicans and independents say that they keep some political beliefs to themselves. Okay, so there you go. We are silencing ourselves. We're censoring ourselves because we're buying into this BS. How did this get going? Well, it started because good people decided that they weren't going to step on other people trying to speak their mind. And so the Antifa movement, the political correctness movement, it all continued to grow. And people continued to be nice to that. But it's gotten to the point where the niceness is being walked upon. And political correctness is going out there and teaching people that they shouldn't talk about subjects because if they do, there's a repercussion. Or you shouldn't wear the Make America Great hat because somebody might get angry about it, or so on. You know, all the stupidity that goes on in this PC culture. But it's killing us because look at what's going on with the Islamophobia. Someone brings up about the fact that there's a problem with radical Islamic terrorism. When somebody brings that up, instantly you have somebody on the left saying, oh, don't be Islamophobic. All I want to say to that person is pull your head out of your ass. Okay? Terrorists from Islam have been going into countries for 1,400 years disguised as refugees. If after all of this time, 1,400 years, and you haven't figured that out, then you're never going to figure it out. So we need to stop listening to the brain dead individuals out there who have no knowledge of what's going on, and we need to protect our country. And we need to talk about the subjects. And if the liberals don't like it, and if the snowflakes don't like it, then too frickin' bad. It's time for the snowflakes to melt. It's time for the liberals to shut up. And it's time for common sense to make a return. Because otherwise, we're going to find ourselves hurting much more than we could possibly imagine. And the hurt is going to come from the fact that we are going to self-censor ourselves from speaking out against the things that we need to. And when that happens, bad things happen, because there's a phrase, you've heard it over and over, bad things happen when good people say and do nothing. So if we allow censorship in, good people will stop speaking, and when good people stop speaking and saying things that need to be said, problems will occur. Bad things will happen. It's just a vicious cycle. We need to not allow ourselves to get caught up in that. The sound you just heard is the Trump judicial confirmation machine blasting away. The Senate is processing President Donald Trump's judicial nominees at an impressive clip. This week is perhaps the high water mark in the GOP's judicial confirmation operation, an aggressive effort to pack the federal bench with young conservative jurists. For confirmation to federal appeals court are expected by Friday, while the Senate Judiciary Committee convenes to clear or vet yet more appointees. All right, so that's good news for the president and his mission to make America great again. And finally, one last piece here. 4chan has launched a campaign. It's a very brilliant campaign. It's very simple. It's okay to be white. A simple campaign. Last week we covered a story of formal police investigations being launched over allegations of hate crime that recently occurred at Boston College, a crime that had nothing to do more than the placement of a single poster on the campus with the words, "Don't apologize for being white." Seemingly inspired by this development and the overblown reaction to it, the infamous trolls at 4chan Politically Incorrect Board have just launched a new widespread campaign set to take this poster idea to the next level. The idea is simple. If seemingly innocuous message like the one posted at Boston College could cause such reaction, what would happen if a similar message was far more widely distributed? 4chan decided they wanted to find out, and Operation White was soon hatched. The plan: print out and post all around every major city a simple flyer with the words, "It's okay to be white." The operation was launched Halloween night with the costume excuse offering some level of identity protection to the brave participants. Some ground rules are also put into effect, such as putting the signs of public property as lawbreaking or vandalism are not desired. Organizers also made it clear that the overall mission was not about hate, rather about creating the most overblown reaction from the social justice warriors possible. Okay, so this is an opportunity now. Let's see what happens. It's okay to be white. It is. It's okay to be black, brown, yellow, whatever color. It's okay. But now we're going to find out how racist people are when they see this and try to explain how it's not okay to be white. I'm down with being white. As you could see, I'm white. It's okay to be white. It's okay to be whatever color you are. That's the most important thing. All right, let's look at the daily thought for today. Over the years, you build an awareness of self, who you are, what you like and dislike, how you feel about things. This is the mind of the da'at, the place, the consciousness of knowing and feeling. I exist. It is the most visceral of minds, closely linked to the emotions. Consciousness is not evil. The problem is the way that a human enters into the consciousness and identifies with it. What is actually only an awareness of self becomes an actual self. It is an act of self-imprisonment as you become trapped in a tight cell of self-definition. The path of inner Torah leads you to a reach beyond the conscious state to an essential self that is one with the infinite. This is the act of liberation from a personal Egypt, which Torah makes possible on a daily basis. There you go, something to contemplate. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow. Have an awesome day. I love you. Keep loving each other, and I will talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.